Welcome to my session on how to increase your productivity with the PnP SPFx generator. What you see now is actually the documentation page of the PnP SPFx generator. So it's one of the PnP projects. And the first thing that I like to tell you is you need to understand that it is not a generator for SharePoint Framework, but it is the default Microsoft generator extended with additional capabilities, and these are actually the capabilities that can improve your productivity. Everything you probably want to know you find on this page, documented. Like we do with the regular SharePoint Framework generator, what we do is we say yo add PnP/SPFx, and this then runs our generator. So there's some things different here. So first of all, thanks for all the contributors. In the PnP SPFx generator, it always provides you with the current version that you're using, which is now the 1.15, and also tells you exactly what is the base generator that Microsoft provides. So it's based on Microsoft generator dash SharePoint 1.11. So by time at recording this video, this is the latest version. So we have the latest PnP SPFx generator installed that uses the to create a SharePoint Framework project, the version 1.11. Like the Microsoft generator, the question area is here a little bit switched around. So the first thing is, which is your baseline package do you target with your components? So actually you have here the exact same options: SharePoint Online, SharePoint 19, SharePoint 2016. And the reason why we asked this on first place here with the PnP SPFx generator is because this depends then on the question that came after this first selection. At the moment, we only have most options in the SharePoint Online generator, but we don't have that many options in, for example, a SharePoint project for 2019. This is based on the fact that not all the versions in SharePoint 2019 support the latest versions or libraries that we use in SharePoint Online. So for now, I select the SharePoint Online version. And the first thing that you see in the PnP SPFx generator is actually that there are a lot of additional frameworks like Aurelia, Angular Elements. When you have an Angular CLI installed, then it tells you actually which Angular version you have installed. In my case, it's currently the version 10.0.5. This option is disabled when you don't have an Angular CLI installed. Then we have handlebars, we have another front-end framework, Vue.js, but we also have the React.js and the No framework options here that the regular Microsoft generator provides. Knockout is not on this list anymore because it's not officially supported by PnP SPFx anymore. Most of you may be just fine with React, but even a React.js project comes with a lot additional benefit to it. So let me pick React.js here, and then you see which library do you like to include in your project. So actually you can select here from a list of libraries that the community found is useful to have in your project, and by selecting these you don't have to install anything else, so you get a complete new React.js project with, for example, jQuery installed, or if you're doing graph calls, then you have the type definitions from Microsoft Graph included, common tools like PnP.js. You can also directly add to your whenever you start a new project. Of course, the PnP property controls are in there, the PnP reusable components as well, some things like more really popular JavaScript toolkits such as Lodash, or you can even select Office UI Fabric in this regard. In case of Office UI Fabric, there are right now available two flavors for a SharePoint Online project. So this is the version 6, the default one, which doesn't have any idea about Fluent UI. Then there was an add-on to the version Office UI Fabric version 6, included a Fluent theming and the version 7, which is the current version of Fluent UI. This is something we change probably in the next release to have this naming here right. So for now, what I just pick is the version 6. When you create a regular SharePoint Framework project, then the TypeScript version that comes with it is the version 3. Sometimes you might have the requirement to have a newer version of TypeScript actually in your project, because certain libraries, components that you want to use in your project are relying on a higher version of TypeScript version 3.3. What you can do here is you can upgrade to, you can pick if you want to use TypeScript 3.4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this will automatically configure thus the complete TypeScript configuration for you. So you don't have to worry about anything. It sets the TypeScript TSLint configuration correctly. It installs the correct version of TypeScript and the correct version of the TypeScript compiler, Rush stack compiler. So I select here now version 3.9. And then we have more options like venting options, as we call it. So we have the Webpack bundle analyzer, which is an analysis tool that helps you provide to search for large packages that actually increase your bundle size. So it allows you to optimize your packages. Then we have the style linter, which gives you hints if you have, for example, something mistyped. In the 1.15 version, it also supports CSS modules that SharePoint by default uses. And we have a neat little tool which is named CSS Comp. And CSS Comp, what it does, it sorts all the CSS properties by a specific definition. We also have, with those who want to use Azure DevOps, we currently support Azure DevOps just for building the packages, but we also support it now that we directly deploy it. And this is a complete topic of its own, so we leave it out for now and select none here. A really popular testing framework is Jest to test your web parts. And in here we have specifically for the latest SharePoint generator version for a SharePoint Online project all the presets that you normally have to do manually with your Jest configuration. This is already provided by and changes the configuration so that you have the test frame right at the start of your new project available. And now we are actually in the Microsoft Generator SharePoint, right? So the first thing that it asks me is, what is your solution name? And I say here PnP for Virtual Conference 1. This is my solution name. Of course, I will use the current folder. Questions: do you like to deploy the web part or extension come across the whole tenant at once? Do you need additional permissions for your solution? What client-side component do you like to build? So do you like to build a web part, or do you like to build an extension or a library component? I select your web part and then I say, okay, this is my PnP conf web part 1. And then everything works as you used to. So it installs all the packages, all the dependencies that we have defined by our questionnaire. There are some additional files here, for example the CSS comp, I'll show you in later on. And we have the stylelint rc, which is also another file that we need to have in our project. But I will go into this in the later on. So these are actually not part of the SharePoint framework generation process, but they will be added automatically based on your selections. Now that the project is created, we can open this in Visual Studio Code. And as I mentioned, we already have installed directly TypeScript version 3.9, and as I've selected. So what we can do now in here is go to the package.json, and what we see here is we have the Microsoft Rushstack compiler 3.9. We have in fact our TypeScript version 3.9, and the tsconfig already points to the Rushstack compiler base definition for tsconfig for 3.9. Done. So what we also have in here, because we selected the testing framework, so we have Jest in here. We have a style linter in here, which actually requires 4 dependencies. We have PnP SPFx as a dependency in here. We have Office UI Fabric React version 6. These are normally packages that you have to track your versions on it. You have to install them manually, but right now with the PnP SPFx generator, you get this already installed and can directly start developing. So what we also have in here, for example, for testing, I have test configuration in here, which can be found in the config folder. I can directly test and watch my changes. So everything is here right at your what you normally have to configure manually. So we have here the Jest configuration, for example. And then, like I said, the additional files. We have a CSS file in here, which is the configuration for CSS and the style lint configuration. So let's start our project and see if it is working. So gulp serve, because we have added so many things like the first thing that you will see here when I scroll up a little bit in the trace here, we have here some warnings. These are actually well listed, comma, space after. So expect a single space after a comma, single list. These are actually the problems that are reported by our style linter. We also have in here to make sure that we use the TypeScript version, the correct one, which is currently now the TypeScript version 3.9.7. So you don't have to worry about anything. And what we also have launched is our local workbench. So we add the web part, and it's working perfectly fine. So now one thing on the CSS comp part, to actually use the CSS comp in here, you have to install a third-party extension, which is named, of course, CSS comp. Which is the version 5.3.2. What I can do now with CSS comp, and let's go to our CSS that comes with SharePoint, with the Hello World web part. I can now press Command Shift. I can now press Command Option Shift C and format my complete my complete style sheet differently. So, for example, if you see here, we have first the font definitions, then position definitions, then the block elements like display inline block, and the min height, padding, cursor. We have these small blocks on of properties in here, so the CSS becomes easier to read with CSS comp. And how this works, so we have a base definition in here. It says, okay, first I want to have the says extends and the includes. Then I want to have all which is font related, all what is position, set index, top, right, bottom, left, display, so the block elements. Then we have the height definitions and the paddings, margin, all which is box size related. Then list and table styles and additional third-party vendor prefixes ordered in exactly that order. So we have also opacity, we have border styles, and all these. And in this CSS comp definition, it defines exactly how you sort your CSS in here. This is especially useful not only for developers, but if, for example, if you work in a team together and everybody tends to write his values somewhat differently, then you can actually make sure that you have one defined order in which the CSS properties apply in here. What you also can do is, or for example, normally when you write CSS and for example you have a height here of 48 in your CSS, 48 pixels in here, and then somewhere later you define it, height, I guess it should be height 96. And when I go now to my command palette and say, okay, here I want to run CSS comp and format my styles, it reorders all the properties again. And then you probably see some things like in here, so we have the height here 3 times defined, and we actually just need the 96 or the 32, then I can delete it. So it helps me also to have a more meaningful CSS in here, and to make it easier for the complete team you're working on to have an order in their CSS. This is one piece that helps a lot for your development and for to have a consistent style in here. Okay, so now we have our web part written, and let's say we are finished now. Let's do something in here just pretty quick. We use something that I don't recommend, so background color actually shouldn't be the MS color dark theme, it should be MS minus color, I guess it's orange. And there we have our web part orange. So now that we have finished our web part, we actually want to deploy this web part. So when we want to ship our web part, we actually want to, you would go to the normal console and then you say gulp clean. Probably, this is not required, but it's always nice to have a clean build. Gulp bundle minus ship. Then we do a gulp package minus solution minus ship. And then we are done with our solution. And when I open it, SharePoint, then I see here the SPPKG file in here. So I need to remember it's bundle and then package solution, which is pretty time consuming, especially when you do it more than a couple of times a day or before for testing purposes manually. So the PnP SPFx generator offers something really special in here because it gives you a shortcut for as well building a production build as well as building a developer build. So when I say gulp dist, it actually executes exactly the steps as I described before. So you have the clean step, you have the bundle and you have the package solution, and runs them all in sequence. And what you see here also is it's built target ship. So gulp dist actually gives you the exact same package that I showed you before in a distribution build. But what if I want to do a developer build? Well, this is also covered. So instead of passing in this -- ship or production or option, so it says you only have to say gulp dev, which gives you a dev build. And as you see here, it's a debug package. What I can do now is I can open this one, go to my SharePoint, go to my solution. In here there's the package. And I can go to my browser, go to the app catalog, and directly upload this apps inside the app catalog. And it tells me that it's actually built for localhost. So it actually consumes my local workbench or my local web server running. Let's add it here. Then go to a demo page or something like that. So let's go to sites/devnews, which is a communication site that I have in here. These are actually artifacts from other web parts that I tested out. So let's create a new page, a new blank page in here. PnP Virtual Conference test page. Publish this page for now. What we actually need to do is we have to add our app to this. Add our app. And it's the PnP PV-conf1 client-side solution. So we add it now to the site collection. Now it is added here. We can go back to our page. Add it in here. And say PnP conf web part. Again, we still get an error, but this is only because we don't have it yet running. So the local workbench running. Go observe. And then we can refresh this page. Now we can change it back. Let's go to Visual Studio Code. Let's say we want to have not the background color, we have the regular theme color back again. Can directly change it here. Refresh the page and now we have it back in blue. So instead of remembering all these commands, the only thing you need to have to remember is gulp dev for a developer build or gulp dist for distribution build. The last thing I want to show you is how to handle efficiently versioning. So let's say this web part is currently version 1.0. So throughout the SharePoint Generator project or SPFx project, we have several version information available. One is inside the package version. Up here it says it's version 1.0.0.1, right? Another version information that we have is here in the package solution, which says it's 1.0.0.0. The problem here is the version in the package .json and the version here in the package solution has a different kind of versioning. So you can easily update this package JSON or leave it at 0.0.1, and then you have the package solution in here. But there is also a third option for versions, and this is actually here in the manifest file of the web part itself. So what you have in here is version asterisk. So the asterisk says signifies that the version should be taken from the package.json. So whenever you update the version in the package.json, then it's also reflected in here. So right now the web part has a version 0.0.1 as we had defined in the package.json. So what to do when we have a new version of our web part? Well, in this case, SPFx, the PnP SPFx generator, has also a solution for this. We can use something which is commonly known as npm, which is another tool similar to Gulp, which actually not only handles our package installation, but also handles our version management in this package.json file. And what we can do now is, I say npm version, and I want to have a 0.1.0 version in here. And when I do this, it will automatically upgrade my package.json version to 1.1.0. Let's do this. And what it then starts, it automatically starts a distribution build. So what you have then in the package.json, you have a new version of your project with exactly the version 1.1.0. So you have in here 1.1.0, but there is also another script that is attached to this, which says pre-version.js. And this is a hook from the npm that says please run the script when you want to install, when you have a new version, or when you do something whenever the version in the package.json changes. And when we look now in our in our package solution file here, we see here now the version 1.1.0.0. Actually, the first three digits reflect exactly what is in our package.json. And again, in the web part manifest, we also get the same version. After running this build chain, I'm directly able to deploy the web part in the version 1.1.0. When we do this again and work for some time, do some bug fixes, then we can have a minor version in here, another one, a 1.2 version, a 1.1 for a patch version, and so on and so forth. So we have just one version information in here in the package.json, which is also represented as a tag in Git, on the Git repo, and it allows us to centrally manage all our versions. If you're interested how the script is written, so you find it here in the tools folder. There's a pre-version in here which says exactly take the package.json, take the themes manifest.json, and update all these with the package version information. Let me quickly open the folder. In here, in solutions, we have now the PnP SPFx, which was created now. Go in here, replace it, deploy it, and now we see here the version has changed. Last but not least, I want to show you a little trick when you, for example, haven't worked for a project on a certain web part for a while, how PnP SPFx can help you with this as well. So I'm now navigated now to volume C demo, which actually contains an old project. I'm not sure when I last touched this project. So when I go to code, I don't know what it is. I probably need to look up the package.json, and then it says here, okay, it's core library 1.9.1. Okay. So you can go now use Office 365 CLI, get the instructions, and update all the references that you have to do. But what the PnP SPFx generator also helps you is with upgrading solution. If you're not sure if this web part is version 1.9 or the current one, 1.11, then just execute yo at PnP/SPFx. What happens now is that the PnP SPFx generator checks the current folder that you're in with the installed base Microsoft generator using the Office 365 CLI. And as you see here, project needs to be upgraded. Please review the upgrade log.nd file in your project. So in the background, directly PnP SPFx calls the method in the Office 365 CLI to upgrade a project to the latest version, in this case 1.11. And this happens automatically. So even if you don't want to add a new web part to this project, you can use PnP SPFx to check if you have the latest version in your project. And now I can open it with code, go into my root folder, and I see, as promised, here the upgrade log.md. So the md file, what I have to do to upgrade actually my project to the latest version. Well, that's all from my side, and I hope these tips and tricks with the PnP SPFx generator helps to improve your productivity in your next SPFx project. Thank you.